The harm will not be seen or felt until the child gets older. So there is a post that talks about, modern women think that they can have it all. It's an illusion and delusion that has been pushed for the last 50 years. Women that were wives and mothers in the 50s and 60s and 70s taught their young daughters to go get some degree that is too expensive in a world of men to try to carve out a life for themselves. Even TV shows like Sex and the City showed all of the women with these fly-high careers pushed off getting married and having a family until later on in life. A small percentage of these women attain the financial success that they work for, be it on their own or with a successful husband. Most of these women are so ingrained in the identity of their careers that they cannot give it up when they become mothers. This usually means that when they have kids, they end up hiring nannies to take care of them. 12% of parents with children under the age of 3 hire nannies for full or part-time services in the United States. 9% of parents with children ages 3 to 5 hire nannies, and only 3.3% of high-earning Americans employ a nanny. So what are the risks of letting a nanny raise your children? For the mother, many problems may arise. The child grows more connected to another woman than the mother. Feelings of anxiety and guilt for not being with the child enough. The child grows accustomed to the company of the nanny over the mother. Jealousy and resentment from the mother to the nanny, especially first-time mothers. And children are normally better behaved in the day, and they get tired and cranky at night, leaving the mother with nothing but the difficult time with the child. What are the risks for the children? Resentment towards the mother, and then the family for not being there in their formative years. Having to disconnect from multiple nannies, creating abandonment issues. A non-traditional family dynamic compared to peers in a friend group or at school. Now, I'm not saying that nannies are a bad thing. If a family has the resources to hire a nanny, they should consider it as an option. But the show is purely about awareness. Everything has its pros and cons, positives and negatives, ups and downs. There is a downside to having nannies raise your kids, and it is not talked about enough in modern society. Nannies are okay as long as they aren't the primary caretaker. The problem is if you rotate nannies in and out of a child's life, if the problem is if you rotate strangers in and out of a child's life that are the primary caretaker. So all of these boss women that are denying their natural urge to go care for children and focus on their career are risking harming their children by leaving them alone to be raised by a nanny that can come and go at will and essentially is a stranger. The harm will not be seen or felt until the child gets older. So there is a post that talks about, does having a nanny hurt the child-parent bond? Blog post. Okay. Does having a nanny hurt the child-parent bond? How do I hold on, let me X this. Okay. Will having a nanny hurt my flowering bond with my 7-month-old? How do one-on-one caregivers impact parent attachment with babies? Please ease my mind and broken heart. First, so this is the Ask Advice column, and it says, sad new mom back at work. First, I am sorry you are sad. It's an easy situation for people to say, oh, don't feel sad. Your baby is doing great. Or, oh, you're so lucky you can afford a nanny. You might be lucky, but your baby is probably doing great. But it's completely normal and appropriate to be sad. It's also normal and appropriate not to be sad. All the feelings are normal here. We are all muddling through. So take a moment to acknowledge those feelings for what they are. You're sad, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you've made the wrong choice. Second to your question, infant maternal attachment is commonly tested with something called the strange situation test. You can read more about it here, but basically it involves bringing mothers and infants into a lab setting and seeing how the infants react to separation, stranger exposure, and reuniting with mom. Through this test, researchers aim to measure secure attachment. There are, of course, variations across infants and their attachment, but data doesn't suggest this is associated with the care environment. One study from Australia actually finds more secure attachment in infants whose mothers showed more commitment to an early workforce return. There isn't strong evidence that the attachment your child has to you will be influenced by the presence of a nanny. Third, I want to give you a heads up about a few things that'll happen so you are ready. One is that your kid will cry when you leave them. They're like, no, it's totally fine, but your kid is going to cry when you leave them with the nanny. And sometimes they will cry when you come home and the nanny leaves. That's okay. It's normal. It doesn't necessarily mean they hate you or they hate the nanny. They hate transitions or their foot hurts or they were hungry. Don't read too much into this. Once they start talking, they will sometimes call you by the nanny's name. This doesn't mean they don't know that you are the mom. They are just talking fast. The same way my mom called me my brother the wrong name a lot, it doesn't mean anything. So that right there is cope, right? So again, this is women trying to rationalize being bad mothers, right? So what they do is they outsource the motherhood so they don't have to do it. And again, I'm not saying it's the worst thing in the world, but yeah, it's really not good when the nanny is spending more time with the kids than the mother. So, okay, I work as a full-time nanny for an infant, currently 5 months old. This is one of the comments. I am also the child's grandmother, which does alter the dynamic of the work relationship. First, I will say parents still have opportunities to form a strong bond with their infant if there is a full-time nanny. There's morning, evenings, and weekend hours to spend with their little ones. The quality of the time is very important. If the parents are under stress from their career obligations or other situations, the parents can turn the bonding with their little one so that the one parent can handle bills or chores and the other parent is completely relaxed while playing with and caring for the infant. The parent can switch those roles so that each has a high quality time with their baby. The baby should not be left alone for long periods when the parents are caretakers. Some parents do this thinking the child had enough bond time with the nanny and the child is hungry for time with the parents. An infant recognizes the difference between a nanny and a parent, and the natural instinct is to want to be with the parent. So that said, it is inevitable that the infant will form a strong attachment with the nanny. The nanny may spend more hours per week with the infant than the parents. A non-competent nanny will look out for the child's well-being and may recommend approaches to health and development. The parents can follow up on these suggestions with research and decision-making that supports the needs of the child. However, the nanny may have good suggestions and it may go smoother. The ideas should not be dismissed out of hand by the parents. Okay. So, here we have a YouTube video talking about if kids raised by nannies will resent their parents. And remember, most of your TradCon influencers have nannies raising their kids. I'm just saying. When you see them traveling all over the country right after they had a child, someone else is raising that kid. Many single moms will dump the child on the grandma to raise so she can live her best life. Yeah, I mean, why raise your kid if someone else can do it for you? See, it's interesting. Men, again, they want to raise the kid. They find it fun. They like it. Women, on the other hand, they like the clout of the kid. So they like to post the kid on Instagram, but not spend too much time with it. Where the guy is more private about the kid, but he loves spending time with the kid, right? It's like,
wanted her nanny to walk her down the aisle because that's how close they were. She had both parents work bizarre hours and says that she was raised by the nanny, but questions only if it altered her relationship to her mom, not her dad. By prioritizing your career or yourself, are you giving your child a better life or one full of resentment? And why have kids at all if you're just going to dump them on the nanny? Today, let's get into the topic of raised by the nanny, what it means, and can it be a good thing?
That dad is banging the nanny. There's no way he's not.
Big monkey on the TV, but who comes to see you tomorrow? Roger, what will make
And it's like we tell on ourselves. So now this TikTok, this woman's showing how much the kids like the nanny better on TikTok. What an hour.
happy this morning? Who do you think is here?
I Ideally, the presence of a nanny is a new relationship which is additive to a child's life, someone else to love and care for them. But sometimes...
So you guys have to look at this from the point of view of the child. You're bringing a stranger into their house, especially the live-in ones. These are people the kid doesn't know in their personal space, right?
It can lead to a comparison trap. When bundled together with time spent away from caretakers,
people only don't like being compared when the other person's better. Do you know what I mean? Like, men don't like being compared to a woman's exes per se, unless the man's better than all of her exes. Right? Do you know what I mean? So like a woman, she doesn't want to be compared to the nanny unless she's a better mother than the nanny. Then she doesn't mind so much.
The absence of nurturing qualities in those same caretakers, and additional expectations of what a relationship to your mom or dad should look like, we might see that gratitude and happiness disappear or not show up at all. Let's start by hashing out what it means to be raised by the nanny, because we're not debating kind of homeschool life here. Raised by the nanny generally means that the nanny is around for longer than the typical workday. So in the morning, she might be there early to help make breakfast and get the kids off to school. She might also be a live-in nanny, and in the evening she might be shuttling them to and from different extra...
You guys are playing with fire, bringing in these hot 22-year-old women into your house. You are playing with fire.
Curriculars, preparing dinner, and getting them ready for bed into PJs. Parents might be working a demanding job or multiple jobs. They might not be around for night shifts, or they might be around in tandem around the house with other kids or juggling other responsibilities. One parent described her situation in a help column to the Washington Post. Last year, the work hours for my husband and I changed, and we decided that a live-in nanny would be best for childcare. Our nanny is a lovely girl and we enjoy having her, but over time, my kids, 2 and 7, have definitely started to prefer her. They get so excited when she walks through our door, and when they have bad dreams at night, they go to her room instead of ours. Part of that is because my husband and I are often gone at night. My 2-year-old has started saying, "I don't want mommy, I want Allie." I know I shouldn't take this personally. My 2-year-old spends all day with our nanny, and our 7-year-old sees her a lot too. But this is getting tough for me and my husband. How can we reconnect with our kids, especially when we already spend so much time away from them?
Yeah, so this is a guy basically saying, my wife can't be a wife. Like Now, I do think there's a way, right, where a man maybe just wants to protect himself, right? There's alimony. Like, I could see in a world where a man says, "Get to work, bitch." Because, I mean, you're at so much more of a risk when the woman stays home. You know, you're not on the hook for lifetime alimony if the woman is working. Totally understand that. However, usually when this happens, it's because the woman is bad at her job. She can't do it. She doesn't really want to do it. She doesn't really like the kids. Outsource. Find someone. And men are just pragmatic. They're like, whatever, I'll pay someone else to do it.